Hello everyone, welcome to this new video on our channel. In this video we're going to talk about the launching of a new EA on mql5.com, which is called Tic-Tac-Toe Scalper. I've been using this EA since a year now. It was on the market and I took it out to improve it. And we have a live signal on MQL5. It is since 5 months now, and you can see the curve is really well, and we have really constant profit each end of months. It's a scalper. It's a very highly configurable EA, so you can use it easy. As side scalping, you can do your own strategy, breakout strategy with it. So in this video, I'm gonna explain to you the strategy. I'm gonna explain to you the inputs and tell you where you can find this EA. Before we go and talk about the strategy and the EA, I'm counting on you to like this video, to subscribe to our channel, and to hit the bell button so you can receive any new video from our site. Let us talk first about the strategy. When you have a market structure like this one, basically you're gonna look for the latest swing high, swing lows. We have here a swing, and we have here a swing. And here, what are the different scenarios that could happen? We have a scenario that the price may continue down. We have another scenario that the price will break out and continue up. And we have also scenarios where the price is gonna do a fake breakout up and continue down. Or the inverse, basically the price will do a fake breakout down and then shift up. So we have all four scenarios, and in all those scenarios, if I change this color to make it a little bit different, I have this area and this area, and that I can really benefit to take profits, even if the trend is moving up or doing a fake breakout and going down, and the same here. So this scalper will work really on this break of structure, and we'll try to book as much as profit as possible in those blue areas. That's really the strategy that is implemented. However, you have all the inputs that are configurable, and you can basically use it more than just a scalper. Let's go to the input and tell you how they work. Basically, as usual, my EAs, you will have different groups, and each group have its own parameter. I'm gonna start with the general settings. Basically, you have the magic number, the trade comment. Make sure to have really a specific magic number for each instance, so each EA can handle its own trade and not to mix with other EA. You can choose a fixed lot size, and if this one is put to 0, you can choose a lot size risk from balance. For each trade, you can specify the stop loss, the take profit, when to start trading stop, and the trading stop step. So that's the idea of the general settings, quite simple. I'm gonna get back to those parameters later on, just to explain to you a little bit how you can change them in order not to be really a scalper, but really trade breakouts. I'll get back to that later in the video. Let me continue for the next section, which is the grid recovery settings. The idea is you can even have a stop loss for your entries, or you simply don't go with the stop loss and do a grid recovery. A grid recovery means if you have a 10 points, let's say 10 pips stop loss, instead of having a stop loss, once that price reach that 10 pips, it's gonna open a new trade. And the idea is for the new trades that are open, we're gonna try to just use a grid system. So to close all that trade, some will be losing, some will be winning, but to close all that trade with a average profit. So you can configure that recovery via grid to yes or no, so true or false. How much profit you need from the grid. Basically, whenever I open a grid on a scalper, I just try to close with getting back my commission. I don't want any profit. So usually I use a low profit. You can do otherwise based on your testing, do your back test. Maybe you can find a better setup than what I'm using now. The lot multiplier, so how much you're gonna multiply each time you open a new trade, and you have the maximum grid lot. So you're gonna limit, let's say, your trade volume at a certain level, which is 0.2 in this case, and how much trade you're gonna open per round. So that's for the grid, quite simple. We have a time filter. The time filter basically and the day filter will work exactly the same. You can specify between which time the EA will work or on which day the EA will work. The idea the EA is putting buy stops and sell stops order, and when it reach a, let's say, a time window where it should not trade, simply we're gonna just delete the stop orders. However, if you have a position in place, the EA will continue to manage it. So continue to do the training stop. Let's say if you have a grid or whatever, it will be always managed by the EA. However, no new trades will be opened. The time filter, basically why I put it here, I prefer not to trade for a scalper, and especially when I'm using grid on Friday, because let's say I have a grid that is open over the weekend, I'm paying swaps, and maybe Monday I have a big gap on the new week and so on. So I usually don't trade Friday when I use grid. You have the news filter. Unfortunately, you cannot back test it, but it's very efficient for forward, let's say, testing and when you put it on your chart. So you can also use to avoid news. You can set the window so you can stop before, let's say, 180 minutes and start again after 180 minutes from the news. You're gonna check which currency you need to check their news, and which news you're gonna consider the high impact, the medium, the low. Most important thing, you need to know your broker shift from GMT, because I'm reading the news from Forex Factory. They have their news in GMT, so you need to know how your broker, how much it's shifted from GMT, just to have the news plotted on the right, let's say, time. And you can simply draw those news with vertical lines on the chart, so just to know visually where they're gonna go. Let me put it to true just to show you an example for the news when I close this, and let me draw it. And the last group is a drawdown limiter. For those who doesn't know drawdown limiter EA, I will leave you a small video link in the comments below, in the description below. Go check it. It's a must-have EA if you are doing prop firms. Let me get back to the section, the general one, and talk a little bit about the stop loss, take profit, and trading stop. Usually I have those settings to take scalp rate. So I'm simply interested in 5, 10 pips, and that's it. If you want to trade the breakout, let's say you're here and you don't really want just to trade the blue square, and you want really to take a breakout. All what you need to do is just change those stop loss, just take profit. Instead of having 20 pips, you go, let's say, I don't know, for 100 pips. Same for the stop loss. And you make your trading stop a little bit wider. So it depends on you. It depends on your style. I'm really a scalper. I like to scalp, so my EAs will be like this. However, you have really the hand over if you want to not to do it scalp, but to do really, let's say, intraday trades and so on. You can always just change those configuration and be able to do this. All right. So that's it about the settings. Hope it's clear. And let's jump to a couple of examples how the EA works. In order to see how this EA works, I'm gonna run it on a strategy tester on the last 3 years data on Euro USD H1. I'm using random delay. This will help me emulate the slippage, the liquidation, and any, let's say, real life problem like internet connection, like server connection, or wherever. I always put my read commission, so they will be deducted from the profit. I simulate on every tick based on real ticks, and all my data I get it from gas copy, so they are not manipulated. I'm starting with initial deposit of $1,000. If I go to the input, I'm just gonna use the default one, and let me just hit on start. The data now is loading, so let's wait a little bit, and here we go. So we see all this drawdown that are here. Those are the side effect of using the grid. We're adding positions, counter trend, with a way in order to close, let's say, on averaging multiple trade on the same time. However, why I use this, let me tell you why I'm using this default parameters. If I'm starting with an account of 1,000, I'm never losing $1,000. So for me, it's like putting it in a bank. I'm getting 2%, 3%, 5% per month, and I'm sure that I'm not losing my $1,000 that I started with. So if I get here, basically, if you can see, my max drawdown is 763. So it was 34% of my relative equity drawdown. I've made $2,000. My profit factor is approximately three. So basically, they are good results. You need to consider one small thing: is this EA basically have a high winning rate and gonna collect, it's a scalper, gonna collect small profit. But when you have a stop loss, basically your stop loss is a little bit big. That's normal. That's the way it works. So you need to make sure you understand how the strategy works, test it well before you go with any real money amounts. Let me just show you in this graph how the grid works. Usually, when the position is a winning position, we have only a open and a take profit. And here an example is when we have grid. We have a trade that is triggered here. We would have a stop loss here if we had a stop loss. So instead, we have a new trade that is open. We double the account, so it's zero point 0.2 instead of zero point 0.1, and a third one here, zero point 0.2, and we closed everything at this point. So that's basically how the grid works. Here's another one, here's another one. So they are small, and you don't have really a big, let's say, flow as a grid. I'm also providing with this a couple of settings that I have worked on. So I have two sets that works well today. So this one, for example, if I hit start and I go, so it's a little bit different from the grid with different parameters, but still we'll have some good results in the last 3 years. So this one is really, we're still around 20% of drawdown, and we're making around 1,800. And we have a third one that basically doesn't use grid. Let me load it. Like two, this one, and this one. And here you can see back again the different, let's say, stops that we're taking. But frankly speaking, it's doing great. The risk is not a fixed lot, it's based on your balance. So the more you have equity, the more the graph will go up quickly, and you'll have in 3 years around $6,000. However, you need to consider that it is a 20% also drawdown, and basically it depends on your, let's say, risk appetite. So this brings ends to our video now. Hope I explained well the strategy and how this EA works. For sure, in the future, we're gonna add a couple of features on this EA, basically to improve the performance and the profitability. And till next video, don't hesitate to like our video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell button so you can receive any new notification from us. Thanks a lot and have a safe trading.